The first scream was heard at 12:07 a.m. But by the time the police arrived, the woman who had screamed had disappeared. Only the blood remained. Rain poured relentlessly over Prague, washing the ancient streets and carrying thin streams of crimson water through the cracks of Charles Bridge. The city slept beneath the storm, unaware that one of the darkest nights in its history had just begun. A single black Mercedes stood motionless near the bridge. Its engine was running. Its headlights were off. Inside the car, a man wearing black leather gloves slowly closed an antique pocket watch. Midnight. He looked toward the empty bridge. He's late. The driver swallowed nervously. Do you think he changed his mind? The man smiled beneath the darkness. No. He knows what happens if he runs. At the far end of the bridge, a lonely figure appeared through the rain. Professor Adrian Novak. Historian. Father. Teacher. And the only man alive who knew the truth. He held a leather briefcase tightly against his chest while looking over his shoulder every few seconds. Something was wrong. He could feel it. The Mercedes door slowly opened. You promised my family would be safe. A cold voice emerged from the darkness. Did you bring it? The professor raised the briefcase. Everything is inside. For a moment, only rain could be heard. Then, a gunshot shattered the silence. Birds exploded into the sky. The briefcase slipped from the professor's hands and disappeared into the river below. Professor Adrian Novak collapsed onto the wet stone. Blood mixed with rain. 20 minutes later, police officers arrived. There was no weapon, no witness, no suspect, only a white envelope beside the body. For words written in red ink. Find Ethan Carter. Nearly 700 miles away, in London, Ethan Carter woke up from a nightmare. His heart was racing. His phone began to ring. 3:17 a.m. Unknown number. A frightened female voice whispered. Ethan, they're back. The line went dead. Ethan slowly approached his apartment window. Across the street, beneath a broken streetlight, a man wearing a black coat stood motionless. Watching him, smiling, Ethan froze. The man outside did not move. Rain fell heavily between them. For several seconds, neither of them blinked. Then suddenly, the streetlight went out. Darkness swallowed the street. Ethan immediately stepped back from the window. His breathing became heavy. 5 years. 5 years since he had left the police force. 5 years since Prague. 5 years since the fire. And now, they had found him. He walked toward the kitchen and opened a drawer. Inside lay an old pistol. Untouched. Covered in dust. He stared at it for several seconds. I promised I would never do this again. Thunder shook the apartment windows. A loud knock suddenly echoed from the front door. One knock, then another, then silence. Ethan slowly walked toward the entrance. His hand tightened around the gun. He looked through the peephole. Nobody. The hallway was empty. He opened the door. A small black envelope rested on the floor. No name. No address. Only a red symbol. A raven. Ethan's face turned pale. The raven. The symbol of the organization that destroyed his life. He quickly opened the envelope. Inside was an old photograph. 4 people stood together. Ethan, Professor Adrian Novak, a young woman, and another man whose face had been burned away. Written on the back were 3 words. You are next. At that exact moment, his television suddenly turned on. Static filled the screen. The lights inside the apartment began flickering. A voice emerged from the television. Deep, cold, familiar. Welcome back, Detective Carter. The screen went black. Outside, police sirens echoed through the streets of London. And somewhere in Prague, inside a dark underground room, the man in black removed his gloves and smiled. The game has begun.